With the passing of Robert Redford, we would like to read a tribute from a quote from legendary director Mike Nichols, director of Graduate, on why he passed on Robert Redford. Nichols, who had championed the idea, surprised himself by turning the actor down. We were friends. We had done Barefoot. I was playing pool with him, and I said, "I'm really sad, but you can't do it. You can't play a loser," says Nichols. He said, "Of course I can play a loser." I said, "You can't. Look at you. How many times have you ever struck out with a woman?" And he said, "I swear to you." "What do you mean?" He didn't even understand the concept. To him, it was like saying, "How many times have you been to a restaurant and not had a meal?" The Sting coming up next. Haven't Seen It with Tim Sestito and Tommy Tevene. Hello, everybody. Welcome on in. Thank you all so much for listening today. This is a podcast where one of us is watching a movie for the very first time, and today that is both of us with limited experience in the Robert Redford. This is an emergency podcast. This was
Yeah,
a legend passing and us saying we need to do something. Why have we not covered any Redford on this podcast whatsoever? And
we were gonna take the week off, and then Redford died. You're like, all right, well, we can't take the week off anymore.
no, no, we couldn't. It was important to us to attribute to one of the great stars of the 60s and 70s of the new wave of Hollywood at that time, and really great thriller, really great caper, really fun
Mm.
to watch, terrific cast, great production. We will dive into the whole thing shortly here. Tommy, so we were throwing around a couple of different movies that we could cover here. What do you think led us to do the Sting over, say, All the President's Men?
I think that I wanted to cover like a classic, like Paul Newman and Robert Redford one. The other option was Butch Cassidy, a Sundance Kid. I thought that the Sting would probably go down a little bit easier, like on Tuesday night when I was a little tired. But overall, I'm glad we covered this, and also a continuous streak of us. Somehow we've been having like this weird thing where like 2 weeks in a row we've been covering the same character actor.
Yeah,
Like earlier this last month it was we covered two what's his name Dick Wolf
Dick
or
Miller.
Dick Miller. We covered two Dick Miller
Dick
movies.
Wolf. I was like, Dick Wolf, that's the Law and Order.
Law and Order guy, a little different, a little different.
Like,
So no,
like
we covered two Dick Millers, and then this time, yeah, last week we covered Dog Day Afternoon, and this week with The Sting we covered two Charles During movies. An actor I didn't know who he was until like a week ago, and then somehow I've randomly watched like three movies he's in. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? It's one
what
of those
other
guys.
movie did you watch with Charles Durning in it?
I talked about last week. There's also a Paul Newman movie, the Hudsucker Proxy,
Oh,
the
that's
Coen
right. Yes,
Brothers
that's
movie.
right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Later on in their both of their careers, respectively.
yeah.
This is the peak of them. I love that Charles Durning is just typecast as a cop now. Like that's exclusively his role throughout the 70s is just to be a cop.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he pops up in everything. And he was in a Muppet movie, so he was in the Muppet movie. So
1977.
yeah, yeah. So
Very nice, very nice. Well, since this is an emergency episode, but I think we should still discuss what have you seen recently? What movies have you watched? Anything new? Anything you want to discuss?
so going on the topic of Robert Redford, when he died yesterday, I was like, I realized I had not seen like the overwhelming majority of his movies. The only movies I've seen of Robert Redford were, embarrassing enough, his Marvel movies, and then The Great Gatsby, his version of Great Gatsby that I watched in like high school in English class or something. So he was
Watched
an actor.
three parts in English class.
Yeah, exactly. So he's someone that like I never really got like a deep dive into. So like what a way to tribute the guy. So last night I watched this thing, and tonight, right before we start recording, I just finished a movie, Indecent Proposal, which was a 90s erotic thriller that he was in, made by the guy who made Fatal Attraction. So right there I was like, all right, I gotta see this movie. The concept of the movie is somehow even in his 60s, Robert Redford's still a sex icon because the movie is Robert Redford's a billionaire and he meets a married couple, Woody Harrelson and Demi Moore, and then tells them after like hanging out with them and having drinks and stuff like that. what if I gave you guys $1 million to let me sleep with Demi Moore?
Hmm.
And then the movie unravels from there in a way where it's just like, okay, like Woody Harrelson, will you get cucked for $1 million? The $1 million question,
Dude, think
literally
about
right
that
there.
cup. Dude, think about the cup chair in that room.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole movie basically ends up being like a fallout into like their what's it called, Demi Moore and Woody Harrelson's marriage after Demi Moore goes through with it, and like how they're gonna get back together and everything like that. And then somehow I love that Robert Redford was in a movie where he's like, yeah, you know what? I'm in my 60s. I'm gonna nail the hottest fucking actress of today. Like that's the movie I'm gonna be in the 90s.
Yeah, no,
And
that's a crazy Robert Redford role.
yeah, and it really works. It's fun. I mean, you wish it went a little more into a thriller territory, but like I think the dissolution and like the overall concept is like a thing where like, would you do that? Like, I don't know if I would. I don't know if I need $1 million that badly to be cuffed.
No, no, I don't think I would do that either.
Yeah,
Don't put that in
but
there.
But still, like it speaks to Robert Redford's testament that he was still like a leading man even in his 60s. Sneakers is another movie I want to cover or maybe watch sometime soon. Where like that was an action thriller he was in. I mean, the fact that this guy was such a legend up until the end. Where like, I know that people are saying on like Reddit or Twitter rather that like, oh, it's disgraceful that his last movie was like in a Marvel movie, but it's like, think about it. At the end of the day, the one of the most famous actors in Hollywood, his last movie was one of the highest grossing box office movies of all time. I think that's a fucking great way to go out, despite
I
what you might think about the Marvel machine.
so that is his last role, but I have a sneaking suspicion because I believe Infinity War and Endgame were filmed back to back, like in one go of it, if I'm not mistaken. But
Mm,
his last leading role is a movie that I actually adore. It's a little known movie called The Old Man and the Gun, directed by David Lowery,
mm,
starring Robert Redford, Casey Affleck, Danny Glover, and Spacek. He was intent. This was his retirement. Like he was going out on a lamb, and I was like, I remember being like, I'm going to go see this. Like this is a
mm,
legend. I'm gonna go see his record thing. Um, it's a really cool movie. It's based on an article from a New Yorker article about a old group of bank robbers who basically faked in the 70s who faked robberies. Like they'd go in with their finger in their pocket as a gun.
mm.
And through that, and Casey Affleck is the young FBI agent trying to chase him down. And it's a really fun cat and mouse movie. Definitely a movie of Redford's that I would definitely recommend. Like, guy was 82 years old and he still had it, man. Like,
Yeah,
he was still sharp as a whistle and really fantastic movie. Really fun to watch. And I think a movie that doesn't get spoken about enough and one that I think should be highlighted. But another movie I want to discuss that's not Robert Redford, but it's a movie I went and saw, which is Caught Stealing, the new latest Darren Aronofsky film. That involves him. He's a washed up former high school baseball star that's now a bartender and gets caught up in the middle of a crime ring. A really fun movie, really great thriller. Austin Butler, like I got season tickets for him. Like he's a guy.
yeah.
Anything you put him in, I'm just like, yeah, I'm there. I feel
You
like
got a stock on Austin Butler Island? I think we all do at this point.
yeah, Austin Butler, but I feel like Glenn Powell is similar in that regard, where it's just like, all right, like he's in this, yeah, let's go see this. Like I want to go watch this.
Mm,
Um, but it's a really fun movie. There's a big part of it that there's a moment where they CGI'd Shea Stadium into the movie, which just warmed my heart. And I heard Gary Cohen, the play-by-play announcer for the Mets voice over the radio in the scene, and I was like, okay, they nailed the accuracy. But if I have one complaint about the movie, Tommy,
yeah.
one complaint,
Mm.
it was ugly as shit.
Yeah, you were saying that earlier in a group
Yeah, the
chat.
cinematography, it was like this muted gray. It was so ugly.
Mm,
And like it's like it's just this thing of like modern cinematography that just I guess it has a lot to do with digital versus shooting on film, and it's just easier, it's cheaper, it keeps down production costs, but it's like these really muted colors and just like absent it's absent of life. Like the beauty of film itself as a medium is the colorways of it. It's what will draw your eyeballs into the movie and have you sit there and accept the wonder of everything that's going on around you. And then this movie just like lacks that. It's got a really good script, a really great cast. I really would recommend this movie, but man, oh man, I feel like what could have been one of the year's best, like just taking a step back from with like
Yeah,
just
that
that
took you back so much. Like you
it
hated
took
the
me
cinematography that much.
it was like I lit the movie, Tom.
Yeah.
Okay, like me with like no lighting experience whatsoever. It was like they asked me to go do it, and I was like, $30,000 for 3 weeks? Yeah, sure, sure. I'll like this movie. And oh my
Yeah.
gosh, it just was
Well,
revolting.
there is something to be said in general about like how like they light dark scenes in movies today, where like, you
It
watch
wasn't
something
even
like
just dark scenes. It was just like it was like a concrete color. Like
yeah.
it's a very gray movie, which is not a
I
colorway
mean,
I like
when
in movies.
when I think of Darren Aronofsky, I don't really think of like bright colors. I recently was on the Film versus Film podcast talking about Requiem for a Dream and Black Swan, and both those are also very muted colors. But I think that works for the story in those two movies. Um, so Caught Stealing feels like a departure from him because when I think of Darren Aronofsky, I think like really dour bad time, whereas this feels like a fun like romp almost.
Yeah, this is easily like of Aronofsky's film career, like his most accessible. Like Black Swan was really big. I know Requiem for a Dream is kind of one of those like watch once in your life movies, and then you never want to
It,
watch it again.
that being said, it wasn't as harsh as I thought it was going to be, but Requiem for a
No,
Dream. Because I
it's
think when you
not.
get that built up in your head like so
Yeah,
much, and like you think it's going to be worse than it actually is.
I watched it in college, and it definitely hits different when you're 20 and have no world experience versus when you're in your 30s and you do have some world experience. Like
Yeah.
there is a difference between that. But yeah, I don't know what it is. It's like there are dour moments about this. Like there's a lot of um negative parts in this, but it's like for that the characters endure, but it's still like really fun. Matt Walsh plays an English punker, which was just really fun. He just has like a purple mohawk, and it's awesome.
That's
And
amazing.
yeah, a really fun movie. Definitely go check it out. A nice like original script and story with a good twist in there in the middle of the second act that I don't think I saw necessarily coming. But it worked really, really well. And it's Caught Stealing. Go see it despite it being ugly. I guess yeah, now that I think about it, it is an Aronofsky staple of just like
Ugly cinematography.
ugly cinematography, but man, oh man, would I have preferred it to have some life to it, to not just be
It
such a muted
it
film.
almost feels like he's like doing his version of like a Guy Ritchie movie.
Yeah, a little bit, a little bit.
Yeah.
It definitely got that kind of DNA in it. But he knows how to shoot, man. He knows how to work. Despite being a pompous prick, he knows how to shoot a movie. It's very. Have you ever heard Darren Aronofsky talk?
Yeah, yeah. When I was what's it called like watching like the special features of Requiem recently, he like had a whole video diary thing, and he sounds so pretentious about it.
Well, he's so pretentious, but he's got like a Brooklyn accent, and
Yeah,
it's very jarring, especially with the name Darren Aronofsky, where you just go like, "Oh, this is some European like higher art," and then it's just like a guy from Brooklyn, and you're just like,
yeah.
"Okay,
Like, all right,
what's
what's going
going
on?
on here?" I feel like I'm a little disconjointed right now.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
the old man and the gun, great final send off for Robert Redford at the movies. I would say this is more his final movie than Avengers Endgame because but I'm
That was
not
a quick cameo.
yeah, listen, Disney said, "Brother, we need you here for a day. Here's 1 million." And he goes, "Okay, I can do that. I can make
Yeah,
it work. Yeah, I can
yeah.
spend a day of my time to do this." With The Old Man and the Gun and Caught Stealing, two recommendations, two movies definitely worth watching. And now a third movie worth watching. Here is The Sting.
Special next Sunday at an earlier hour.
Your boss is quite a card player, Mr. Kelly. How does he do it?
He cheats. The Sting comes to television on ABC. Paul Newman, Robert Redford. Two great stars. In the movie that taught America it's not how you play the game, it's how you win.
He's not as tough as he thinks. Neither are we.
The Sting, next Sunday at 8, 7 Central and Mountain on ABC.
Man, those old TV commercials are just so quaint. The Sting,
Yeah.
a 1973 American caper film set in 1936, involves a complicated plot by two professional grifters, Paul Newman and Robert Redford, to con a mob boss, Robert Shaw. Film was directed by George Roy. The film plays out in sections introduced by old-fashioned title cards drawn by an artist, Jaroslav Jerry Gerber, in the style reminiscent of the Saturday Evening Post. It is noticed for its use of ragtime, particularly the melody "The Entertainer," which is adapted for the film by Marvin Hamlish, producing a Billboard-topping soundtrack and a top 10 single. I wouldn't have had that one on
So
my card.
one thing that was like insane when I was looking up stuff about this movie that apparently like brought back interest in was it like Scott Joplin type music? Because I love thinking that like at the time in the 70s, like there's probably like a niche thing of kids in high school, like, yo, you listen to Scott Joplin, like, hey man, like that's the equivalent of like me like being obsessed with like 1960s music when we were in high school.
Hey man, have you heard of Jefferson Airplane?
Yeah, yeah. Meanwhile, like people were like, yo, are you doing the Joplin tonight? You doing
Yeah,
the Scott Joplin? You
no,
doing the
dude, you gotta,
ragtime?
dude, hipsters in the 1970s were just like pulling out
Ragtime
1930s
and
ragtime, being like, nah, man, rock and roll ain't it? That's the devil's music. Here's Scott Joplin. Da 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 da
da,
da
da, da,
da
yeah.
da 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 da
Doing like a
da
fucking
da.
Peanuts dance. I feel like that's the only way you can dance to it.
Oh, like are you talking about the like the
Yeah,
Christmas
like the Snoopy dance where like they're all dancing like and like just doing
the
like the
the head bob? No, man,
the
that
head bob. Yeah.
you do the jitterbug to that. There's another one that you could do. There's a couple of ragtime dances from that 1920s. But this movie, very, very successful. It won seven of its 10 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, Best Director, Editing, and Original Screenplay. Redford was nominated for Best Actor, his only nomination, which is kind of crazy when you look at
You
his.
would have figured he would have been it like for a while.
You would have figured he would have won one.
Yeah, yeah, that too.
He's kind of has that. I was looking into this with Harrison Ford. Harrison Ford also only has one Oscar nomination, and which is crazy when you think of the star power of both of those guys. Like you would
Well, I
think,
can believe it a little bit more of Harrison Ford because he's definitely done more like genre and action movies, at least. Like, I
yeah.
doubt he's getting nominated for like Clear and Present Danger or something like that.
I mean, he's excellent in The Fugitive, which is a movie we do need to cover at some point. That you have not.
Definitely.
But like even something like The Natural, supporting actor in Butch Cassidy, All the President's Men, like there's such legendary movies here
Yeah,
that on Robert Redford's resume that just ignored, completely
yeah.
ignored performances. I wonder if it has to do with him being too handsome. Like he is just like it's very weird.
Voter bias.
Can I just say
Like,
a thought I had when I was watching this movie? I was watching this movie and I just said he looks like what's the guy Noah, what's his name? He's in the Truman Show. He's the best friend in the new Truman Show. I'm like that
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's not Noah Baumbach, but it's Noah something and he looks just like he's like the ugly version of looking like Robert Redford in this movie. Like Robert Redford is the dashing California handsome version of this guy.
Well, you could definitely also see like Brad Pitt and a little bit of Robert Redford, especially in some later movies. There's
Oh,
that too. So, but in terms of Oscars, real quick, because I want to touch upon this. So, this is the 1973 Oscars, or for movies from 1973, and we covered one other movie during this Oscar race that was nominated for Best Picture. Do you know which one it was?
1973 movie. When did we cover it?
Like 2 years ago, and we had guests on. I'll give you that hint.
The Exorcist?
Yeah, The Exorcist. So this is the year of The Sting, American Graffiti, Cries of Whispers, which I haven't seen, and then The Exorcist and Touch of Class. So first of all, three like totemic movies that like are still talked about today. Exorcist is like the horror movie still to this day, and The Sting like is really great. I mean, personally, I prefer The Exorcist over this, but I feel like with rewatches, this thing will definitely improve and improve and improve in my mind.
Noah Emmerich, by the way, is the name
Yeah.
that I was missing. Sorry to interrupt, but my computer was taking a while to load this page up here. Um, I feel like this is the movie that would win the Oscars, but The Exorcist, I feel like The Exorcist has longer legs than this movie. Not to say that this movie doesn't have legs, it definitely has legs, but I feel like The Exorcist is one that's really renowned. And I feel
Well,
like
it definitely helps that The Exorcist has good sequels, or sequels rather.
I don't necessarily think has to do with it with like movies from the 70s. Like it just wasn't the time of sequelitis. Like Taxi Driver. I mean, I was gonna say Jaws, but Jaws has sequels. But like all these sequels stink. These are
Even
all
this had a shitty sequel. This thing too had no one returning except, and it was Jackie Gleason and Mac Davis.
oh, what a downgrade, man. Like this movie I feel like is really carried by the three main performances. Newman and Redford are just they're effortless, man. Like it is just it's like they rolled out of bed and just have this charm and charisma because their job here is to make you root for them, and they're con artist swindlers. And yes, they're targeting Robert Shaw, but throughout the movie, there are hints to the fact of there's a conversation between Redford and Newman where, how many people have you conned in your day? Oh, 300, 400 guys. I don't know. Like he's completely lost track of it. Like in that route, do you think he's Robin Hood in those 300 to 400 people? Do you think that maybe he's conned somebody that probably didn't deserve to get conned? Probably.
Yeah.
Um, but it's so much charm and so much likability. The other thing I wanted to say is this movie is really tense. Like
Mhm.
on a first watch, you're sitting there like on edge with everything that's going to happen. And I really, really like the use of the title cards in this.
Oh yeah, that's really fun. And also just like how it keeps on going in and out of like the ragtime music right there. Like the ragtime music in general just really rips. You can see why there's a 70s revival for it.
Set the 70s, the very little discussed 70s ragtime revival. We might have to do some research on that and make a short or something like that to put on social media. Something about the 70s ragtime revival guided by the
Yeah, yeah. We if you have videos or photos from you and your ragtime days and you're an older listener, let us know.
I mean, this had a budget of $5.5 million. It made $257 million at the box office, which is one of the
There,
highest grossing movies of all time at that point.
there's an insane stat that George Roy Hill, the guy who directed this movie, he also directed Butch Cassidy, the Sundance film, and he's like one of the only directors, like the first director actually, to have two movies gross over $100 million. So like that just speaks to like the star power of like these two guys, Newman and Redford. And essentially, it's like, okay, these two guys are back with the guy who made Butch Cassidy. It's like, oh fuck yeah, let's go see that.
I'm kind of curious. In the 60s was because the early Hollywood was a very producer heavy industry. Like directing really didn't start to kind of take its own form and become more of an art form and become more of the lead of a project until like the 50s, the 40s, 50s in that time span. More 50s into the
Yeah.
60s with the death of the traditional studio system. Like question for me is like, were directors a selling point at this point? Like, I'm thinking of like old timer directors. Like Hitchcock is really the guy who puts directing on the map in terms of like
Yeah.
mass appeal to the wider realm of people.
Well, it's still kind of like, even today, like I'm sure you have friends like this too who like love movies, but like they could tell me maybe three directors off the top of their head, and those directors are
Spielberg,
Spielberg,
maybe George,
Tarantino.
no, Tarantino and George Lucas.
Yeah, that's probably it. And maybe I don't know.
Maybe a Scorsese, maybe a
Christopher Nolan too. Christopher Nolan
Christopher
too. Yeah.
Nolan. Yeah, there's a handful of guys that get their name.
But yeah, I feel like that's definitely back in the day too of like casual moviegoers. They definitely knew Hitchcock, but like who would be the other ones that would like go after them? And granted, we're not historians of the time period. But what's insane to think about with both these movies grossing over 100 million, we always talk about how Jaws, which Robert Shaw obviously famously was in, was the one that opened up the blockbuster and like pretty much created the blockbuster system for Hollywood. And back in the day, the release distribution method was not all about opening weekend like it is today. Where like, so
No.
many times if a movie fails on opening weekend, where it's like, oh, I guess it's gonna go out theaters in a weekend, like in a week. That's
Well,
it. But
so
back then, like it would just be a rolling review almost, where it would just be like go everywhere, town to town,
so they
and
were
play like,
they would tour these movies. Like if you lived in the middle of Wyoming, you might not see The Sting for a year or two after it's
yeah.
released because they were manually transporting these film reels around. Um, so
Mhm.
what Jaws did, and in terms of like the modern block, because this is a very early prototypical blockbuster, if you will. Uh,
Mhm.
like what Jaws did was it did the wide release. It did the first to open on thousands of screens at the same time and really changed the way the industry works. Because I mean, even today with like smaller independent movies, we still have like smaller limited releases where movies will play in a couple of selected theaters and then maybe get a wide release. Like I have the Belcourt
Yeah.
local to me, like they're playing movies that you're not going to be able to find in an AMC or a Regal or whatever chain that you might have by you. It is very much, when they say Jaws is the modern blockbuster, it's more about the distribution than the film content, if you will. But
Mhm.
I also think Jaws, comparative to this, like plays into the love of horror, where this is just
It's a creature feature, yeah.
versus this is, and I think Jaws also kind of got the timing right for blockbuster releases. Summer, it's a summer movie.
Yeah. Just a side note, do you think we're ever gonna find someone to have on the pod that hasn't seen Jaws before so we can cover it? I feel like that's one of the ones. I mean, Jurassic Park, we thought we weren't gonna get it. And then
I
our friend Davey.
I feel like we need to go into like Gen Z, like the depths of Gen Z, and just find some.
Yeah. But then they're gonna be like, what's a movie?
Well, can I watch it on a TikTok short with them playing some stupid game under it? Uh,
I hate that. Fucking
oh,
hate that shit.
I
Every time.
immediate skip,
Yeah.
immediate. Although I have noticed the whatever movies Gen Z watches and cuts into these like reels, like they watch a lot of like Hallmark garbage. Oh,
Yeah. I
wait,
I I
can I say another pet peeve? I know we haven't discussed this thing at all, barely. Something worse than you're on a reel or something, and then it comes up and there's an AI voiceover explaining to you everything that's happening in the movie.
oh, it's
This guy was
peak.
just rejected by his girlfriend. I'm like, what? I'm like, people watch this? Like, people
It's
that
peak brain rot. I mean, I think about the fact that like there's some people that watch like AI trained videos all the time, and it's just like very clearly AI slap. It's like this is real. But in terms of movies, like there's a study like apparently like a lot of Gen Z people like unlike I don't know. Maybe this is us being like old man in the cloud. We're in our 30s now, so now we're getting to that point. But like, there's like apparently like some Gen Z people like they just don't like have like curiosity towards like older films or like older movies or older music and stuff like that. Where they really just watch what's new. And like, if you tell them like, oh yeah, watch the movie from the 90s, like the other day, like what? Why did
watched an
you watch that?
old movie, man. And I mean, it is an old movie, man. It's like 30 years ago. That's an old movie.
Yeah, exactly. So here we are talking about an even older movie.
Here we are talking about it. If you told Gen Z or Gen Alpha what this movie is, they'd be like, "Is this in black and white? Does this movie have sound? Like, what is this movie?"
Yeah.
And then
Is it It is a thing with coworkers where like sometimes I'll say like, "Oh, I watched this movie," and I'll specifically go to my towards my coworkers in their 40s, like, "Oh, I watched like fucking like Terminator over the weekend." Like, "Oh, fuck yeah!" And I'm like, my Gen Z coworkers like, "What?"
what's a Terminator?
Exactly.
It does bring up an interesting conversation about like our shared cultural experience being completely derived because there was a big part of this where everything that you watched, a movie like The Sting, The Exorcist, these were all things that like the general public just generally consumed in. Same thing with television. You had when this movie came out, you had three channels and like PBS and maybe WGN. You had like three to five channels depending where you lived.
Mhm.
And so you ended up watching the same stuff. Like there was a shared collective experience towards this that is now completely evaporated because you're really obsessed with this one video game and you watch a guy stream it to 15 people and that is your entertainment. That's all you care about. That's all you live for. And it's kind of sad that you go, "Hey, have you seen
Monoculture is not a thing at all anymore. Like,
No,
the fact that we didn't even have a song of the summer. Like, I couldn't tell you what the song of the summer was if
no,
there was
I
one.
I'm sure there was one, but I didn't know what it was. I mean, I feel like last summer you had like Espresso, you had Pink Pony.
Yeah.
Like there were songs last summer where I was like, oh, these are good songs. These are fun little pop songs. Like, these are fun pop songs of the summer. And we did not, classic girl, I know t here's a little known secret about Tommy. He's never let it on the podcast. But my man here loves a good girly bop.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like
Total. Power Ray Jepsen's my shit.
Carly, he is a car. He turned. I was a cynic when "Call Me Maybe" came out, and Tommy warmed me up to you and Davey warmed me up to that like song to
Yeah.
be like, you know what? It is actually a banger. It's a
Yeah.
banger. It's a certified banger, and there's nothing I can do. And it warmed my heart, my 18-year-old cynical heart to girly bop. My life is
Timmy was already an old man at that point.
oh yeah. I've gotten easier. People who met me later in life are like, "Wow, you're really critical about things." And I'm like, "Oh, I used to be so much worse. I used to be so much worse."
If you think Timmy's pretentious on the pod now, imagine if we did this 10 years ago.
Oh, I would be such an annoying film snob being like, "Well, Tommy, there's actually this great French." Even though I didn't watch, if I was like doing a podcast or something, I would absolutely be that guy being like, "No, I need to be smarter than people." So
I
let's
watched the French New Wave extreme movies
Yes,
and
so we're gonna do a series on French New Wave cinema too, like my mom and your mom, and that's it. Like it'd be like, what are you doing, dude?
What's going on? You have a beret for some reason?
Yeah, I was never okay. I was never that pretentious. Okay,
No, no, you weren't.
I had the I had
You did
oh,
buy a fedora for me and made me wear it once.
well, that was me and Connors. That was in high school though. That was
Yeah.
when we were mean to you.
So, great tangent.
Little inside baseball there for
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I do want to talk about like how I thought originally this movie was gonna be so a lot of times when we cover these movies that we haven't seen before, I try and go in as blind as possible. Where like I
yeah.
know what the movie is, obviously. I know who's starring in it for most part. But for some reason, I thought this was a bank robbery movie when I first when I heard this thing. I heard it's like a heist movie. I was like, oh fuck yeah, this is gonna be like an exciting bank robbery movie.
It
And
has
instead it's not
makings of a heist movie though.
it does, but it's not really like a bank robbery movie, but it still works. It still plays. I mean, it's still thrilling. I mean, I think one of the favorite scenes of mine is when Newman is playing poker with Robert Shaw. Robert Shaw
Oh,
is
that
this,
scene is so tense. It's so excellent.
yeah, and like where you pretty much think the whole time Newman is bluffing and he's getting over his head and like he doesn't know. He's just like playing off pure charisma, pure confidence, and just be like, all right, hit me.
I'm sorry, we got an entirely misinterpretation of this sequence. Newman knew
Yeah.
exactly what he was doing.
Yeah, I think it's because like again, that's why I'm excited to rewatch this because at first I didn't see the trick part of it all. Where like I see Newman doing it over and over again. I think he's gonna be called out as bullshit or called out or like whatever. I didn't notice he had the trick card right there.
Did you miss the whole sequence beforehand where he's showing Redford, Johnny Hooker, the card tricks and how he works them? And then he takes the bottle of gin out of his bag. He starts pouring it down the drain and starts cutting it with water to let, he's like, that's why you drink gin because nobody can tell the difference between, the smell of gin is so pungent, nobody can tell when it's been cut with water. Um, he comes in stumbling drunk. He's mispronouncing Lonigan's last name, just a new a new Lonadon, Loney, like every time, just pissing him off. Oh, Robert Shaw is so good in this.
He's such a great like menacing figure. I mean, he's someone that like I feel like it's a shame that he was cut short of he died like not long after Jaws, I think like a
Yeah.
year or two after. Because I watched a movie of his recently, Black Sunday, that was amazing too, and he was the hero in that one, and it felt like he could have had like a definite career for years and years after. Of like in the '80s, he could have been just like a heavy in random movies or like the random like guy behind the desk or something.
No, it's just like a really great character actor. But thinking about it, like the whole movie, the whole kind of hinges on the performance of Robert Shaw, in my opinion, because
Mm,
he is the threat, and you need to understand that if you if you mess with this guy and you take his money, he will come destroy you and kill you. And it's
mm,
so effectively done. Like I love the first introduction to his character where we're originally in Juliet, Illinois. Johnny Hooker and his partner Luther, scam a guy who's running numbers. A part of Doyle Lonigan, Robert Shaw's network, and then we cut to this like grand casino in New York, just like this beautiful ballroom coming from like the grit and gruff of the street in the 1930s. And we don't even see his face. It just kind of can't, we just follow henchmen walking over, whispering in someone's ear until we get to him. And he just looks and goes, "Take care of them. You understand what I mean?" And goes back to playing his game. Like
yeah,
not even a little bit concerned, just like kill them. Straight up kill them. And I mean that menace is so crucial for us to feel the fear of his character to enrich the stakes further. It makes the stakes that they're running here, this gambit, all the more
mm,
intense. And like that intention is just like a slow cooker every time the movie goes, and every time Redford and Shaw interact, and Newman and Shaw interact, and it just continues on and on and on. And it was so engrossing. It was such a it's a movie that kicks you in within 2 minutes of it and doesn't stop until the movie's over.
yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a through line behind it, and like even like the murder of Luther in the beginning of the movie. I like how the movie starts off. And so, first of all, do you know who Luther's son is? Like
No.
the actor.
No.
He is the father of James Earl Jones.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait,
And I know for some random, was that
Luther is?
Luther, the guy who played Luther, like the con man in the beginning of the movie, that is James Earl Jones' dad.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. So great actor who like I know him from the 80s because he was in a trashy slasher called Sleepaway Camp that we'll probably never cover because you'll
Well,
hate that movie.
Robert
But
Earl Jones, that makes sense. And then I also saw Harold Gould, which I am almost positive is Elliot Gould's father.
I don't see anything about that. So sometimes people have similar last names.
Then I lied, because I guess Gould is a pretty common last name.
But there was also another guy, Mr. Hand from Fast Times at Ridgemont High was
Ray
in this.
Walston?
Yeah, Ray Walston. When I saw that, I was like, oh shit, it's that guy. So you said earlier, great mix of character actors in this because like every minute it's like, oh, this guy, this guy, this guy. Oh shit. But I just do like how the movie begins, like how like immediately Robert Redford gets like the con with Luther and stuff like that, and he gets all this cash. He goes immediately to the casino and immediately fucking loses it. It's a rigged game, but like he still was like, "Yeah, I can do it. Let me put this on." And like everyone's like
Yeah.
freaking out.
Well, so he put it on there and it was clearly rigged, but I was watching it and I was like my first thought was 'cause, like it was like why did he just bet $3,000 on red? Like, and I'm watching it and I just go, did he owe the was this a way of paying back? Like he owed money to someone and he was just delivering it to the casino, but nope, turns out he's just a degenerate gambler that cannot hold on to his money whatsoever. Um, I it opens up that way, and then we're not even introduced to Paul Newman until 25 minutes in, and I love how we find him. They're at a brothel that mirages as a carousel,
Mhm.
a fun house, I guess, in the 1930s. I don't know. I wasn't alive then. I don't know what these structures were. But it was a very cool, a very fun like setting for a brothel for like a seedy place. Just have a giant merry-go-round in the middle of your building.
Yeah, yeah.
there where he's just like rip roaring drunk, comes in, and the movie really, really starts to take off from there with the planning. I love Newman recruiting his boys, doesn't say a word to get Kid Twist, JJ Singleton in, just a quick little dash of the nose walking into their building, and they know what's up. They know it's time for business.
Yeah.
Uh, and that is running lines. A very expensive setup, might I add.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. There is something to be said though, like a total movie star entrance for like Paul Newman, where like he finds him in the tub just drunk as hell
Well,
and stuff like
no, he
that.
finds him off the bed snoring,
Yeah,
past drunk, and then it's him, cameras facing back, Redford on the toilet while the water's coming down, and it's such a movie star moment.
yeah.
I would even
So then
say
immediately,
Robert Shaw had a movie star moment too, with just like his introduction too, just like leave it mysterious. I know it's more of a heavy thing to do, but it's another use of that where you're just like, who is this guy?
immediately, it does shock me to know that like Paul Newman was like still like middle aged by that point in the 70s. Because I'm thinking like, do we ever have like really young performances of Paul Newman back in the day?
Yeah, Paul Newman's just been an old guy for a while, but I mean, he was born in 1925 compared
Yeah,
to Redford, who was, he would have turned 100 years old this year,
yeah.
uh, versus Redford, who was 89. So, I mean, there's 11-year age difference between Newman and Redford. And it's interesting because you view them their star power of the same time.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, they definitely like peaked around the same time and everything like that. And could be wrong, but I think this might be the last movie they did together, which is insane.
Yeah, I think it is too. From what I could tell, it's not like there was any rift, but it just the buddy buddy system just didn't it just never worked out that way again, which is kind of crazy to me. But it's almost like De Niro and Pacino, where it was always like chasing getting those two guys together on the screen, and it only happened what like four times throughout history. Like
Yeah.
they only
And,
shared the screen like couple of times in those movies. They didn't like Godfather 2, they don't share the screen at all. And it's always been like chasing getting these guys together.
yeah. So exactly, but for Redford and Newman, who are known like so much like simpatico and like this great friendship, they only really did two movies for the most part. And you think that like this would have been a thing like, I'm shocked there's no follow up to them doing like here we are again after this thing. We just won Best Picture and another movie with George Roy Hill or something like that. It seems like it's a partnership we should have had a lot more of, and history
I'm,
makes it seem like there was more.
I'm surprised there wasn't a run of it in the 90s, like in the late 80s, early 90s, just getting them back together.
Yeah, as like an old man movie where like that's what Sneakers was kind of like, where Sneakers had Redford with Sidney Poitier, and they're in their 60s at that point. So like, where's like the equivalent of like what was that movie with like De Niro and Michael Douglas where they're like friends in Vegas, like Las Vegas or some
Oh
bullshit?
yeah. And with demons in there too.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We're like, where's the version of that for like the Redford generation?
No, it's funny because like if you look into it too, like they just had a friendship throughout the course of their respective lives together. So it's interesting that they never ended up working together. Um, they never lost touch throughout the course of their lives, which is you
Yeah,
learn as you get older. It's harder and harder to keep in touch with all these people
yeah.
that come into your life. But so the movie, the Sting. So I think one sequence we touched upon was the train sequence. I wanted to talk about the setup of the lines, the track betting place, and just the coordination of all of that.
Mhm.
It was so fast because they kept saying like we're gonna run lines on him. Nobody's done it in 10 years, and I'm like, what the heck are lines? Like what is this? And it's a it's a gambling parlor for horse races. It's a OTB now. Um,
Mhm.
really well done, really nice, but I love how the scam is like, okay, we have to get all we have to get a bar in here. We have to get the equipment, the Western Union telegram equipment also in here, a microphone set up, and then it's this like beautiful parlor, just this great like white design, and they also need 20 character actors, 20 con men to be in on this score for a half
Yeah.
$1 million.
That's what was insane about the final scene, where like you know that obviously there was a con going involved and stuff like that, but the fact that's like all of a sudden everyone just gets up and it's just like we did it. It's like how many fucking people had to be involved to get that pulled off, and the only person other than Robert Shaw who wasn't involved was Charles During as like the police officer, really, like just got him out of there.
Like, yeah, how do we get this guy off your tail? Because yeah, Hooker's naivete, Redford's naivete as a character here is that he stole money from Lonigan. He's got the local people chasing him. He also, Durning plays a dirty cop. He gave him counterfeit money, and he owes him money, and it's like a never-ending comedy of errors and a chase for this guy. Um, and is what really made the twist at the end of this movie so fantastic. Where Redford sell. I thought the ending when they shot each other, when Newman shot Redford and then the FBI agent shot Newman, I was like, oh, okay, I mean, it is a 70s movie. Your actor
Yeah, it would play if it that would be a downer ending.
I was like, okay, I guess I should have seen this one coming. It is a 1970s movie after all. Nope. The FBI thing was all crafted.
Yeah, and it does really hit because like I thought the same thing at first. I was like, oh shit, like the movie's just ending like that, like they're killing each other. I thought they were like
Kind of a gut punch.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And apparently, like when they were cast this movie, like the producers or the studio didn't wasn't really sure at first that they wanted Newman and Redford because they're already so well known as friends that this movie kind of needed a little bit of like a are they gonna double cross each other kind of thing. Like maybe audiences aren't gonna buy it if it's Newman and Redford because they're so close together.
Yeah,
And you kind of see it, but then it plays well in that one scene. We're like, oh shit. um, I did think like the moments of like action or like chase scenes were really fantastic, and that's I love the one where Charles During is chasing down Redford, and Redford has to go through like the subway. Or the subway station and stuff like that, climb up, and Charles During's obviously not nearly as athletic as Robert Redford is, so there's no way he's going to catch up to him.
I like on that drop down, you can just see that you're like, oh, that is the stuntman a little bit. You can see the stuntman when he makes his land there, just a little bit, but
Yeah.
it's fine. Um, but yeah, and then I was always interested with the casting of the character Loretta, who
Mm.
plays the assassin for Lonigan's people. She, we're told her last name, what was it, Santiago or something like that?
Mm.
Like that is who we're told it is. And we're introduced to this waitress, and Hooker seems to just be enamored with her for whatever reason. But and that sequence, the fake out assassination there, which leads to that double crossing thing where it turns out that Henry Newman's character had somebody staking out Hooker because he's like somebody out there is trying to kill this guy. Like I don't know what this guy has done, but he's not shooting it straight. Just you have a guy following him around, and Loretta, the waitress he slept with, was then walking towards him. He's like, "Oh, hey!" And then boom, kills
Yeah.
her. Turns out she's the assassin the whole time. But I love that setup where we see the guy getting, we see the black glove turning off the light the night before
Mm.
the sting, and then we see him getting the gun assembled. We pan up. We're like, okay, this is our assassin. We're seeing this now. Nope,
And
like great fake outs into that FBI fake out. Really, really effective twists here, like that I did not
yeah.
see. When I watch enough of these things that I can kind of see them coming.
And this one, you kind of like took you by surprise a lot. Where I was like, "What? Wait, what? This
Yeah.
just happened?" And if I had to rewind a couple of moments, where I was like, "Wait, what? What just happened? You got shot? They got shot?"
When you think about it, in the morning we see Redford putting
Yeah,
capsules in his mouth. Like we're like, what is he putting in dentures? Like what is he putting in his mouth? And then
yeah,
you think back to it when Hooker has his original one of his confrontations with Durning's character Snyder, he's like, hey, what do I need to know about here? Like we need to get this guy off our back. And then we don't see anything about that, but then all of a sudden he gets tasked with the FBI.
Yeah.
to do this thing, and I'm like, oh wow, there's another third element, this threat, and it's just this like pressure cooker of tension. As the
We're
movie.
waiting for it to all go off because like also like the whole double cross element. I mean, I did watch this movie a little tired last night. But there was one moment where like when Redford like immediately like started like talking to Shaw and stuff like that. Part of me is wondering like, is he just playing Shaw or is he just like doing what Newman's saying to him or something like that? What's going on here? Like, is he really just trying to get out of it and stuff like that and just fuck over Newman, or is he really on Newman's side the whole time? Because I couldn't really tell because it seemed like a character that he totally would just be like the best opportunity possible, I'll go for.
Oh yeah,
And
you totally buy it. And there's that moment when we walk in right before the sting, right before the setup, with the other assassin character coming in, the protector, and Newman nods at him, and like you, Redford has such a great moment there, like just a great little performance with his face, where it's like this like it seems almost conflicted,
yeah,
like um, and yeah,
because you're waiting for the other shoe to drop a lot in this movie.
yeah, you are, and it all ends in that last 5 minutes. Like the shoe drops and the movie ends, and I love that.
Yeah,
Um,
I love you
with
don't see the payoff. Like you see everyone cheering, but you don't see like what happened to them after. I almost wouldn't be shocked if this movie, like 5 minutes later, Redford just gambled it all away again.
oh, that's the last line of the movie where he's like, "What? You're not going to stay around and get your cut?" Yeah, I'd probably blow it all anyway.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, yeah.
I am a star. I'm a star, I'm a star, I'm a star. I am a big, bright, shining star.
Who's the star of the movie? It's a two-man show, but I really think this is like Redford outshining Newman. I think
Yeah,
all three of them are essential ingredients to make this movie work, but Redford is our protagonist despite being second billed, which does feel like the studio being like, okay, Newman and Redford in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Okay, well let's just do that again despite Redford easily being the protagonist of this movie and carrying us through the entire thing.
yeah, it is Redford's movie at the end of the day. I mean, Newman's more of a supporting role right here. But I think Newman's just like great. I mean, like even the moment of like where when he's like talking to the waitress and before you know the waitress is the assassin, it's just them flirting. I could almost see like I could see why like every girl would just like throw themselves at Robert Redford just for a moment. There was like one like an anecdote recently that came up when Redford died that like someone met like someone's wife met Robert Redford and then she said to her husband afterwards, I would crawl just to have a chance to fuck him. I'd crawl over to him. It's just like the star sex charisma that this guy has, and like you can see in the waitress scene where like it just seems like a meet cute at first. You're not even like thinking like, oh, like she's gonna try and kill him or anything.
No, she's there working, just trying to get out of town, and he connects with that. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, we opened our tribute with the Mike Nichols testimony of Robert Redford just being like, "What do you mean I don't? What do you mean not get the girl?"
yeah,
It's just a guy that has that charm with women, and it's funny where she's like kind of being like, I'm going to bed, like I'm not interested in you at first, but kind of sick to sleep with him and then kill him the next morning. Like talk about messing up your brain a little bit there.
yeah, definitely. I mean, also like we haven't really talked about this really before in a movie where like one of the stars is definitely David S. Ward's screenplay because it's really brilliant. I could see why like this movie is so acclaimed, and I feel like a big part of this is just an amazing screenplay. He won the Oscar for this movie, David S. Ward, and not shocking whatsoever because it's brilliant. And you know, David S. Ward, Timmy has made probably what I imagine is a Timmy staple. He directed and wrote a Timmy staple for you. Can you
What?
guess? It's an '80s movie.
They,
um, Major League.
that's right.
Yeah, yeah. So kind of funny that he did that. So he ended up going there, but you can see the elements of comedy for Newman himself. He was just a great like comedic like aspect to this movie. He apparently wanted to do this because like people thought that he couldn't do comedies, and he's like, "Yeah, I could do comedies." Like, what the fuck? I'm Paul Newman.
This isn't like
It's not full comedy, but it has comedic
there's
elements.
moments to it, but it's more of a thriller than anything. If I
Mhm.
had to assign it a genre, I would put it under thriller. Caper is the one that seems to be defined to it. But I think the brilliance in this screenplay is that it's a total reliance on its actors to convey the words because it's it's there's not a lot of exposition in this movie. It is just you are understanding this world through the performances. And like for me, that's what makes a great screenplay is when you're able to understand what is going on without it having to be directly told to you and listed out like this. Like I think for you, Tommy, like we've had this argument about Dune a lot, and I actually liked how they handled the exposition because you need a lot of exposition for Dune. It requires a lot of exposition, but you're just sitting there like, I do not care. It's a science fiction world. I hate this. I do not want to be watching this, and I'm watching it on an iPad. This sucks.
Yeah. Well, I think the difference in that case is that like the way it doled out was very slow because I do like sci-fi movies, like The Fifth Element and other ones I could list off the top of my head.
Bro, you like a lot of sci-fi. You like sci-fi paint. Like you do not like fantasy. You like fantasy
No,
paint. Like
out.
fantasy paint, you're out. Elves, dwarves, get that out of here. Get it out of here.
Fuck, fuck that D&D shit.
Yeah, you do not. Hey, we have D&D listeners to this podcast. Dude,
Yeah.
we're pro
So,
D&D podcast. Despite Tommy, aggressively
yeah.
slandering.
So
D&D.
I didn't realize, real quick, that George R. Will like did a bunch of other movies with Newman and Redford. Like after this, he did The Great Waldo Pepper, which I never really heard of with Redford, and he did a movie we watched in the basement once before, Slapshot, a hockey
Oh
classic.
yes, he did. That's where I recognize the name from. I That was on Netflix, which stunning that they put that movie on Netflix. Talk about a movie that
Well,
make people who can't handle jokes very, very uncomfortable today.
well, there was a thing like I think it was like earlier this summer or like a few months ago where people were saying that this movie, The Sting, was currently the oldest movie on Netflix, and like that's just grim in a way.
Yeah,
Like, come
it
on.
is grim. There's so many, like, I think a beautiful part of our journey with this podcast is we discover a lot of older movies where we're going, like, we watched the original Dracula, man. Like, we didn't like it, but we watched it, and it's just cool to see the evolution of the medium as itself, and also learning that there's just a lot of really, really great older movies out there. HBO has a lot of the older movies because they have the Turner Classic selection, but yeah, Netflix keeps it like 80s and on, man, like and selections from the 70s.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Like some brief glimpses of the
You
70s.
really have to go to like you have to go to like Criterion and you have to go to I think MGM Plus, like you have to go to older, you have to go to more curated uh film logs to be able to watch those movies.
Ah, are you ready, comedy partner? Waka waka.
All right, Tommy, The Sting, a Muppet movie? The Great
I
Muppet?
think I think you can make it work a little bit. I mean, because I'm just imagining like a 1930s like
I
movie
could
with the
definitely see
Muppets.
the Muppets in the 1930s
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just
with
like
the
dress them up and
ragtime
stuff like that.
music and just make this a slapstick comedy caper.
Yeah, and the Muppets were in a caper movie, The Great Muppet
I
Caper, lest we
just said,
forget.
I just said that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think you make it work. I mean, do you just keep Newman and Redford and then everyone else is a Muppet?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know
Yeah,
why I feel like Paul Newman would work. Did he do the Muppet Show?
that's something I have to Google real quick.
I
Paul Newman.
don't think he did, but I feel like he would just work really well with the Muppets. Like
Yeah, he
he would
didn't. It's shocking.
he would be a perfect Muppet guy. But yeah, I think there's fun to be had with the Muppets in the 1930s. Like if you get them all dressed up in like that 1930s with the straps and the cabbie hats and all that stuff, the fedoras. Like
Miss Piggy is like a flower girl or something, or
yeah, like
whatever it's
there's
called,
a lot of
Flapper.
fun. I don't know if a caper like this intense would necessarily fit the Muppets very well. But Muppets in the 1930s, like I'm just throwing Disney free money and they're just throwing it away.
Yeah, come on. What are you doing, Disney?
All right, review time. Give me a score out of five, Tommy.
So this is a really fun caper right here. I mean, I think that like even though it's at the end of the day a thriller, I was about to say Robert Shaw is a great menacing villain in this, and I think that the chemistry of Newman and Redford obviously plays up the screen. You can see why they're such an iconic duo, even though they only did two movies together. But overall, fun time. I really want to rewatch this when I'm not tired, so I can catch more stuff I didn't miss the first time. But I'm gonna go probably like a 4 out of 5 or 4.5 out of 5. I'm leaning towards 4.5 out of 5.
I'm also at 4.5 out of 5. One thing we didn't really touch upon is the production design, like really beautiful matte paintings of that 1930s Chicago, and
Mhm.
the sets are really brought to life. Like it just feels so lived in and so
And
alive and
this
just
is filmed on the Universal backlot where like Back to the Future was filmed.
it's not it's not a it's not filmed in Chicago, so it really transport you to that time and that place in the world. Uh,
Hmm.
just terrific performances, a really clever, really tight screenplay. Like it all the pieces fit together once you think about it, once you understand once you see the whole movie unravel before you, even though at first you might go, "What?" And then you go, "Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense." That makes sense. So 4.5 out of 5, The Sting, really fun time. To our boys Newman and Redford, we got to cover them more. We got to do Butch Cassidy. We got to do. There's so
Yeah,
many we got to do.
there's a
Uh,
ton out there.
But Tommy, any final thoughts before we wrap up this episode?
Well, thank you guys so much for listening. You can find us on social media. That's at Seen It Pod. That's on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram. We're also on Blue Sky. That's podseenit.bluesky.social. And leave us a 5-star review. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast, helps us out, helps us grow the show. And next week, we promised it last week, but it'll be actually this week, next week. We're covering There Will Be Blood, the Paul Thomas Anderson epic. So.
In anticipation of one battle after another, which the reviews are glowing, and I think this movie might actually do okay
Yeah,
at the box
hopefully.
office. Hopefully, hopefully. But thank you all so much for listening to our emergency episode. We will see you next time.